Hey everybody, gonna do a off-schedule stream today. I got called in for midnights tonight, so trying to get some of this knocked out. I still did my pictures today, like we do every Sunday. And because I'm gonna have such limited time, I wanted to get in here early and hopefully get these knocked out before I have to get out of here. It'll be a fairly short stream. I'm hoping it'll go about 3 or 4 hours, but we'll just have to see as it goes. But again, in case you've never been here before or you're new, this is only my second new stream since about, I don't know, it's been 5 or 6 years since I was streaming last. My wife and I are volunteer photographers at our local county shelter, and we go out every Sunday and take pictures of, it varies, typically around 10 dogs, sometimes it's a little more, sometimes a little less. Today it was a little less, thankfully, because we had a lot of them get adopted, and we also have an off-site going on today to get some dogs adopted. It's a wonderful thing. And we've been doing this for a little over a year and a half now, and we just love it. We love helping the dogs. We're very dog-friendly people. So on the stream here on Sundays, what I've kind of decided to do is to edit these pictures that we take. Might get a little publicity for the dogs, kind of show you a little bit of my process. It's pretty simple for this process. All these images go out low res. None of them are really any high res or print stuff, so they're pretty quick, relatively speaking. We do about 3 different poses or pictures for each dog. We want a good face shot for their ads or on the website. We do a body shot so people can see what the actual dog looks like, and we do try to do a personality shot. It doesn't always work out real well. Depends on the dog and what all is going on, but we try. So we're going to jump over to Lightroom and kind of get this going. If I can figure out what I did with it. I had to change some stuff the last time we streamed Lightroom, because of the way that Lightroom renders. It renders the preview pane differently than the rest of the windows. So it was cutting out the preview pane. And the volume was terrible. Everybody's like, what are you doing? So hopefully we've corrected a lot of that. Now I just have to find it because I renamed it. Here we go. Yeah, there we go. And now you can actually see the preview frame section here in the middle, which is going to be very helpful. So the way that I take the picture, these are all imported. These are right from the camera. I've just imported these. And the application that this particular shelter uses requires all the photos be a 1:1 aspect ratio. I'm not a fan of it. Dogs are not square. Literally nothing is, but that's the way they require it, so that's the way we kind of crop what we choose down, and we'll go in for the edits from there. So we start out, I take a picture of their kennel cards first to keep track of the dog, make sure I have the information. I also send this particular picture along with the rest of the pictures of that dog to the volunteers when they get them, so that they have an idea or details of the dog if they need them for something extra, or when they put them out on their social media, they have the extra information if they're asked. It's just very helpful. The first thing I do is I go through here, through my Lightroom, and I will put all these into stacks by dog. I just found for my process it works better that way. Of course, we will not be using all of these pictures, but put them in stacking makes them a little more manageable and lets me jump from one dog to the other fairly quickly. So I'm going to go ahead and set the stack on this. And we didn't get too many dogs today. Again, thankfully, last week a lot of them a lot of dogs were adopted out, and there are some on the off-site today, the adoption event. So we weren't able to take those. There's so many wonderful dogs there. You know, wherever you are, there's bound to be a rescue or shelter near you. If you're an animal person, or you like dogs at all, or cats, or anything else for that matter, any other animals, there's rescues for nearly all the animals. I recommend get involved, even if it's only a little amount of time. I mean, we spend roughly around 2 hours at the shelter, and that doesn't account for the editing I do afterwards, but you know, in that time, we help these dogs so much in getting adopted and getting their faces out there, because not only will I put these out on Facebook for my photography site, but I send these into the to the volunteers, and they use them to help advertise them. And we use the headshots on the official shelter application. It gets them better shots than the mug shots that they get when they come in. The kennel's process, it's a county kennel. When they come in, is to take a phone pic basically of them just to have an idea of what they look like. And that's what initially goes into the system. And most of them are pretty rough. Not very representative of the dogs. The dogs are usually fairly disoriented and don't really know what's going on. So it doesn't really do them justice stacking. And even when you're taking pictures, most of these dogs, I don't think any of these dogs have been at the shelter that long. Just typically between my wife and I and the other photography team, we keep up with them pretty well with the pictures, but they're still a little scared and a little timid, and each dog is very unique in how they behave and whether or not. Some dogs will get out and they'll just keep doing circles because they're nervous. Some of the dogs will, wow, we only got 6 dogs today. That's a good thing. And some of the dogs are really complacent and really chill, and some of them are just not ready for pictures at all. Our list was a little longer than this, but we have to kind of evaluate the dogs as we go up to these kennels and make sure that they're going to be okay and comfortable with coming out and getting their picture taken. We don't want to push them because some of them are still getting adjusted to what's going on. So the first thing we're going to do is crop these down to 1 by 1, straighten them up a little bit. I don't worry too much about lighter color balance on these kennel cards. They don't go anywhere except for the volunteers so that they can see about the dog. This is Olive, super sweet dog, hound mix, and Catahoula leopard. And every dog is so unique with their personalities. And I mentioned before, I don't know if you caught my last stream or not, but taking pictures of dogs is kind of like taking pictures of toddlers. You just got to kind of set up the surroundings to be as best you can for getting the pictures. Try to get rid of a lot of the distractions, and you just have to sit and wait. Run a fairly high shutter speed. Thanks for the follow. I appreciate that. Nailith, I think it is. Sorry if I butchered that. But this, and thank you again. You really just kind of got to set up the environment and be ready to snap those. I run about a 200 shutter speed and try to catch most of those moments. Still, if you catch the animals doing a fast head snap or something, it's still going to blur, and we'll probably see some of that here today. But a lot of times it works. I don't run too deep of a depth of field. I'm around 6.3 is what I ran today, and it's going to depend a lot on where I shot the dog at and the color of the coat and things of that nature. And ironically, the dark coated dogs, black or solids, I don't have much of a problem with. It's the light color dogs that give me trouble sometimes. And I say trouble meaning that the histogram on the camera doesn't really, it's helpful, but it doesn't really catch the small white spots, like maybe if they're looking at you. And I always try to get them with the sun behind them, which is typically the best way, because you're going to get that rim light, and it's really beautiful on the dog. But it'll catch their nose or something, and it'll just blow out in that spot. And you can't really dig through your histograms and everything constantly because you would be there all day long. And the objective here is just to get some decent photographs. Again, these are done in mass, if you will, just to try to get these dogs a good picture out there. It's better than their mug shot. So we're going to go ahead and go look through this particular stack, and we're going to try to pick 3 shots out of this. We want to get a good face shot for their application, for the adoption application, and then we want to get a body shot. So when someone's more, the face shot is kind of drawing them in. They'll come in, they'll click on more pictures. They'll want to see a body shot. What does the dog look like? That's, how do they stand? Do they have a tail? I don't know why a tail is such a big deal to people, but it really is. And we try to get a personality shot. And like I mentioned earlier, it's not always possible. These dogs, when they're in shelters, and if you work with a shelter or you're thinking about going and looking at a dog to adopt or rescue, understand that a lot of these dogs that come in are still frightened, and they're around a lot of other dogs, or they're stuck in kennels most of the day. And when you approach them, sometimes they're super excited and they're all over the place, and you're like, wow, I don't want a dog that hyper. That dog may not be like that. And most rescues that I know of will allow you a trial period. So if it's a dog that you think that you really like, the breed, or the size, or a personality trait that they have, try to look past some of those things and maybe give the dog a shot. Or get them out and kind of be with them for a while outside of the kennel. Or at first they might be crazy, and then they'll calm down a little bit and show you a little more of their personality. But it is so tough, especially, there's a real blurry one there. If you're a dog person, and you love dogs the way that my wife and I do, it's so hard, especially when we first started. It was pretty brutal because you want to save them all. You don't want to see them end up stuck in those kennels. That one's a little bit soft. Stuck in the kennels and not getting talked to or walked. And they do have a lot of volunteers at this shelter, and they do as much as they can with the animals, which is fantastic. And I do thank them all for that. A lot of these are soft. I don't remember her being so bouncy in the pictures. But if you can spare a few hours a week or something, if you like photography and you like taking pictures, or you would just like to get into it, and there's so much content out there now to help you, tutorials to help you get going. A lot of the new phones take great pictures. Consider approaching some of those rescues. Just look in the phone book, look at the phone book. Now I'm showing my age. Hop online and find a local rescue and see what their volunteer process is, and ask them if you can come down for an hour or two on a certain day of the week and take some pictures for them and send them to them so they can use. And I almost assure you they will gladly accept that help. And it makes you feel good too, because you're helping somebody other than yourself, and it really leaves you that feel good feeling. And I don't know why so many of these are so soft. That is not good. We've got to find that one's all right. I'm gonna go ahead and flag that one. We might have to use that one as their headshot. I like to get them face on, and really catch those eyes, because as people do, we always tend to go to the face of something first. With dog, cat, person, doesn't matter. So if you can really grab somebody's attention with those eyes, you stand a much better chance of getting them to really think about the dog seriously. And that's what we want. That's what we want. This is marketing, plain and simple. And it looks like we may end up having to go with that, because she was obviously a jitterbug, and we got quite a few soft ones. And I'll let a little bit soft slide, because these are all getting down resed anyway. I think I'd have to look at my output again in Lightroom, but I think it was 1080 or less. But then they post them on Facebook, which compresses them again, and you rarely see too much. But I guess we're gonna go ahead and go with that one. I don't really like that it's more of a side shot, but we work with what we got to work with. Sometimes you get really lucky, and sometimes you don't. So I'm gonna pull a headshot out of this, and we will go in after we get through all the dogs, and we're gonna edit, and we're gonna remove the leashes, and we'll touch up anything like little eye boogers and stuff. I just really prefer the look of the picture without the leash. I think the dogs feel a little more approachable, and if they weren't approachable, they wouldn't be in these pictures. Again, for anybody that might be new or just hopped in, when you first start volunteering, most rescues, if not all, require you to do some sort of training, and that's so that you understand how to read the animal to some degree. And so we do that every time we go to a kennel. Some of the dogs have been there a very short time, some longer, but you have to be able to understand when a dog is okay for you to approach them and bring them out and get their pictures like this, or some you just kind of got to let them ride, and maybe next week they'll be ready. But if any dog that's in these pictures, they're all very approachable dogs. Some of them super cuddly, some of them a little more busybody. It varies so much. They all have very unique personalities. All right, so we're going to go ahead and keep that one. Now we need a body shot. That one's not too bad. That's again a little bit soft. A little disappointed there. See if we can find anything any better. I'm not really seeing any better full body shots than that. Still a touch soft. That's disappointing. I'm not sure why that is. But it's, like I said, it's mostly my fault for not catching something. We're just going to square that up. And I'll reiterate again that the shelter that we do the photographs for, their application requires a 1x1 crop. When they switched from the old platform to the new platform, the old platform was 16:9, and the new one's a 1x1. And what that means is basically instead of getting a full-on good picture of a dog, and I'm trying to find an example here, like if I wanted to do, one of these, I would do a full body shot, and you get a nice, well-composed photograph of the dog because they're rectangle. They are a rectangle. And when you got to go to 1x1, you end up with a lot of either cut off tails, cut off this or that, or feet, or a lot of dead space above and below. I'm not a huge fan, but that's what they decided to go with, so that's what we're doing. And I tell you what else I'm going to do that I did not do is I need to apply my lens corrections to this. This is a Tamron 70-200 that I was using for this, and that's pretty much my go-to lens for all my event stuff or the dog pictures because it's really versatile lens. It weighs a ton, but it's a very versatile lens, and I really like it. All right, so we got our lens correction there, and I'm going to go ahead and auto this to start and see where it lands. It's typically auto will catch these pretty good unless the dog's really dark, a really dark coat or a really light coat, because it'll kind of take the histogram and try to balance it when you hit auto, and that doesn't always work. So sometimes I'll just hit the auto because it just makes it a quick starting point, and then just tweak whatever I think might need tweaked. I'm going to add a touch of contrast to that, and slide the highlights up just a hair. Yep, I don't like that. And I'm going to go ahead and copy these development settings. And this will copy the white balance, which I always run daylight white balance. I say all the time, 90% of the time. And what we're going to do now is we're going to copy the white balance, treatment and profile, and the lens correction so that we can easily apply those to the rest moving forward. So I'll go ahead and paste that on there. And again, we're going to go ahead and auto this, see where it landed at. Not bad at all on that one. Maybe turn up the exposure just a touch. And I am using a color corrected monitor here. Sometimes, depending on your monitor's calibration, these colors might look a little off. But this is all color calibrated. And it's still a little soft on that. And I'll sharpen those up maybe a hair in Photoshop when we get there. So we got our face shot, we have our full body shot. Now I want some kind of personality shot if we can find one. And I like things that are either just from a different angle, like I love the tongue thing. The tongue sticking out. It looks like we missed it there. She was probably spinning her head because we end up a little soft there as well. But those are really cute, kind of playful things when you're curious about kind of how I don't mind this either. And in most cases, if I wanted this picture as my wife here, I would edit her leg out for the crop. But in this case, I might use that and leave it because it kind of shows that the dog, is really, good with people, wants to hang out, not jumping all over or anything. So you just got to think about the dog as you're photographing it, and think about, if somebody was going to want this dog, why would they? What does this dog bring to the table that they would be interested in seeing? And in her case, she was just really sweet. She was a little pacey, but she was very sweet, and she's a little bit older. So that's what I want to try to capture. But unfortunately, wow, that one's really bad. I'm just going to get rid of that altogether. Let's see what we got here. I think I'm gonna go with that tongue sticking out shot. That's not a bad body shot either. But we went with the other one, which I think works just fine. I think we're gonna try this. We'll see how it works out with the 1-to-1. See if we like where we land here. Anytime, and again, these are my processes. If you do editing or anything, I highly recommend you kind of find your own process, because it makes you you. It makes your art yours. You know, there are standard, like you see here, I'm running the grid on here for my thirds. Gives me kind of a starting reference point, and there's other reference point systems you can use. I just use thirds. It's quick and simple. What I typically do is when a dog is not looking straight at the camera, or even a person for that matter, if they're looking one way or the other, always make them look across the picture and not out of it. I think it just adds a much more pleasing look composition to the photograph. For instance, where with this crop, the dog is looking across the photograph, but I'm still staying within my thirds. If I was to push the dog over here, it loses everything. The focus, now you're focusing more on her legs. So again, it's compositional choice for me, and that's kind of, you know, just how I do it. Again, please adopt your own process to make your stuff uniquely yours. And that's all right. I mean, we do have a shadow being cast from my wife here across the side of the dog, so we're missing some of that rim light. But again, this happens. Dogs are all over the place. It's like taking a picture of a toddler. You just kind of grab what you can grab. I tend to overshoot when I do the dogs because I know a lot of them aren't going to work out for one reason or another. So there's our three. We've got our head shot, we've got our body shot, and we have our kind of personality shot. Not my favorite. I've seen better personality shots, but that one will still do. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and collapse that down for now and move on to the next dog. And this is Jackson. And ironically, it's the same name as our Great Dane. And if you're curious about our puppies, you can scroll down a little bit on the panels and you'll see a section called Our Puppies. It tells you a little bit about them. I don't have pictures or anything there yet, but it's our 3 rescues. Love them to death. All right, so we need a base shot for Jackson here. And it's another thing I found over the past year and a half working with this shelter and the dogs is most dogs, and by most I mean probably 80% of them, don't like the camera. And it's because they don't know what it is. And I try to kind of introduce it to them as we kind of walk from their kennel out to where we're shooting at, but it's a very short period of time. And so you might get 1 or 2 shots, especially if you use an on-camera flash, which I do, and then they're camera shy. They will look, and it's so frustrating, they will look everywhere but at you. And you think, okay, well, they keep looking that way because there's something over there. I'm just going to move over there and take pictures from there. You move over there, and now they're always looking the other way. And that's because of the camera. They're scared of the camera. And sorry, you're probably hearing the dryer there in the background. Again, this is kind of an odd off-ball stream for me. I got called in on midnight, so I'm trying to get. I wanted to stream later today, but because I got called in, I'm not going to be able to. And it's important that I get these pictures done. Oh, look at that big yawn. So scroll that back a little bit. Oh. And most of these dogs are so sweet. And it's a shame there is so many. I'm from Texas, near the Austin area, and there are so many good animals around here. But there are so many animals. I came from the Midwest, outside of St. Louis, and while we did have a lot of dogs there, it was not to the capacity that it is around here in Texas. And it was astounding how many animals there are, and how many animals that are not spayed or neutered. And I know there's some mixed flavor for that, and whether you should or shouldn't, but I don't think you should ever perform a medical procedure on any animal that's not required. However, with spay and neutering, we as people kind of caused the whole population problem with the animals. We did that, and now it's our responsibility to help them and their species by not continuing that trend. Because these dogs end up unwanted, abused, underfed, thrown out, discarded. They end up in kennels and shelters, and if they're not at least somewhat socialized well by the time they get there or can get along well with other dogs and things, odds are they're not making it out of that shelter. And that's our fault for letting it get to that point. And we really need to get that in check. There's a lot of advocacy programs out there to promote that. And again, I know there's also organizations against it. Blows my mind personally, to each their own. Adorable shot there. But yeah, there's a lot of dogs. I wish it would come the day when I did not need to do this. I really do. I wish it would come a day when I did not need to take dog pictures, because there aren't any. Or cats, or anything else for that matter. I personally am more of a dog person. But I have photographed some cats as well. And maybe in one of my streams here. I plan to do this particular kind of stream every Sunday. Because Sundays is when I take my pictures. I need to get them edited as quick as I can. And I also want to get streaming. And I do work I say a 9 to 5. I work ridiculous hours. But I want to try to get some more streaming in and do this more often. So this is what I'll be doing on Sundays. And then on days when I'm not called in for midnights, after we get done editing pictures and whatnot, I usually go and we'll play games or something, chit chat or whatever. But so for face shots, I guess I'm not a huge fan of the open mouth for a face shot. Not a huge fan of that one either. But we may just have to use one of those. That's what it looks like. And I'm my own worst critic. I've always been that way. I've been in the creative field for most of my life. And I know for a fact I am my own worst critic. And a lot of artists are. Never feel like it's done or good enough. Man. Some days I'll nail it every time, and some days I'm just not feeling it. And so far, I am not feeling it. So let's see what we can pull out of this one. And I'm going to go ahead and spin this a little, straighten it out. Not bad. Pull the eyes up on the third. And scooch it a little bit. Actually, maybe it won't clip the ear. I think that'll work. We're going to go ahead and paste our settings, development settings from the previous. And I apologize about the multiple levels of my voice. It's a work in progress. Again, I just started streaming again. I used to stream about 4 years ago. And I finally got to a place in life where I feel I could put some effort back into it. And now, of course, my job's going to go nuts and not give me the time that I'd hoped to have. But we'll get through it. Go ahead and auto that. Oh, much better. Yeah, it's just so high or so exposed. And but we'll turn it back up a touch. Yep, I'm going to go ahead and flag that. All right, now we want a body shot. That one's not bad. And you don't always, and again, this is what our shelter requests, is a headshot, a body shot, and a personality shot. Every shelter is different. Some may not care if you can just get a decent picture of them. That's most important. You get a picture that makes them, even one that just makes them look good. If it grabs one person's attention and that dog gets adopted because of it, mission accomplished. That's the goal, is to get these dogs in homes, good homes. Try that. Again, not a fan of the 1-to-1 aspect ratio, but what can you do? Paste those on. Did that go? Because it sure did. It didn't look like it. Go ahead and auto that should pull the exposure down a little bit. We're going to slide it back up a little bit. I'm good with that. One. And again, these are pretty quick edits. I don't go through and stylize all of them. I do studio photography for animals as well. For this shelter, we actually did, over the course of last year, we did 18 different animals, cats and dogs, and we did them in studio for the sake of making a rescue collection. And I do have a gallery for that rescue collection. And they also had them all printed out in, what size was it? You know, I don't know now. They're really big though. I don't know exactly what size that they ended up printing them out at, but they're all over the walls at the shelter. And they're in black and white, which is one of my favorite ways to shoot. And they just look so good up there. I was really thrilled about that. All right, personality. And this was Jackson. I'm trying to kind of remember his personality. I think he was fairly laid back, if memory serves. We see so, and even just because we photographed 6 dogs in this case, we actually engaged with probably 20 to 30 dogs, because my wife and I are such animal lovers. Even as we're walking down the kennels to go to the dog we need to pull out for the images, we'll stop and say hi to all the other dogs and the ones that are, just to give them that little bit of interaction. Because even though they are fed regularly by the kennel staff and whatnot, and they are walked by other volunteers when they can, there's so many dogs there, not all of them get interacted with every day. And that can be tough on a dog and their psyche and their well-being and them staying in good health. Which is yet another thing. Even if you're not interested in the whole photography thing, you can go up, talk to the dogs or cats, interact with them, just to keep in their head, hey, people are good, they want to help, because it makes a difference. Looks a little freaked out in that one. I think we're going to go with that one. It's just got a very nostalgic look to it that I like. So we're going to go ahead and pull that down. Now that one would be a great example of leaving it alone. I like the composition. I might slide him over just a touch. But I like the composition. I like the bokeh. I think everything kind of came together with that one. So we're going to, unfortunately, switch it to 1:1. And we're going to have to pull it down some. It's a little low. Crop it much more though. I'm going to lose the whole point. Try that. And you can just see there how much it changes the feel of the photograph. That's why I prefer the original versus that 1:1. But hey, if it gets them adopted, that would be fantastic. Auto that and brought that exposure down a bit. Turn it up just a hair. I actually think the contrast is pretty good there. Yep, and we'll leave that there. All right, so we have the headshot, body shot, personality shot. Again, not a whole lot of personality there, but it's good. It's good, so we'll keep it. All right, on to the next. Now, he did not have a kennel card. I'm not sure what happened to it, but this was Sam, and this is one of those dogs. He'd make a great fishing buddy. Super relaxed, super laid back. If I had to guess, he's probably around 4 to 5 years old. Just a really sweet dog. I guess I could show you the dog. That might help. And again, this is the all black, and I'll show you an example of kind of what auto does in this particular case. Let's find what we're going to use for our headshot. I think I got a couple better face shots of him towards the end, and I did. And I really like that one, so we're going to go with that. I'm going to crop it down. Again, 1:1. Hit that right on the eyes. Yeah. paste those settings from previously. And now when I hit auto, I can almost guarantee you it's going to be way too overexposed. It didn't do too bad. It did a little bit, but we're still going to pull it down a little because he didn't have that much gray, and that really make him look gray. But yeah, this is a great porch dog. And again, you know, there's a dog there for everybody. Whatever your lifestyle is, whatever kind of companion animal you want, there's always one there. And if not, then shortly. Pull those shadows in a hair. And we'll probably bring those eyes up a little in post, or second post, the first post here. All right, body shot. Did I get a good one? That's great. A lot of the dogs also have a tendency, and again, this really comes back to being in a shelter. There's a lot of dogs there. They don't know all these dogs. They're in a weird place. They've been confined in a box all day. They tend to gravitate towards my wife. She's the one that's keeping a leash on them, and they'll lean up against her, lay up against her, and of course I don't try to get her in the shot, so it takes a while, and sometimes you gotta wait, hope they spin the right direction. That's a cute shot. I like that. Yeah, she's talking to him, trying to get him. See, he kept tucking his head down. Not out of shyness so much. Maybe he's got a little bit of arthritis, possibly. And I didn't get a great body shot. It's probably the closest thing I have, but it looks out. No, it's not out. It's just dark. So we're going to go ahead and one-to-one that one. And see what we can pull out of it here. And, you know, again, this is my process. If you can learn something from it, by all means, take it and run. Or use it, you know, as kind of a guide for doing your own thing. Or if you just like looking at the dogs, that's fine too. Welcome. I mean, we're glad to have you. We're dog people here too. And straighten that a little. We're going to go ahead and paste these on the settings. And we're going to auto it, see what happens here. Yeah, overexposed it a little. Pull it down a hair. Just a little. And if that music or anything gets too loud, again, this is my second stream from about 4 years ago. So if anything's loud or working weird, I noticed earlier with that new follow that it's playing an old sound, or at least I heard it. Maybe you guys didn't, and I still don't know where that old sound is coming from. I got to sort that out. But if you see anything, if it's too light, too quiet, I'm actually, the video here you're seeing is the same camera that took these pictures. I use a Nikon D810. It takes beautiful video. I don't know, as long as I'm in focus right now, it's probably really good, or at least as high quality as the stream that's going. But its autofocus is terrible. Not the greatest video camera. But this is the same camera that took these pictures. But yeah, if anything looks wonky or out or too loud or quiet, just holler. Love the input. Something needs adjusted. And pull it down there. I think we'll just stick with that. It still seems a bit. Pull it up. A little more detail out of the dog. I just didn't really want to pull a lot of that gray and overage the dogs. A lot of the older dogs are harder to adopt. People want a puppy. You don't want a puppy. I take that back. If you either are not much on dogs, like you don't know a lot about dogs, you've never owned a lot of dogs, don't get a puppy. Please don't get a puppy. Because it's a lot of work to raise them in a way socially and behaviorally that they'll be good adult dogs. You know, not jumping and chewing and being nuts and check out the older dogs. If you want to become a dog owner, or you're a newer dog owner, the more mature dogs, and they're not all the same, you have to of course go check them out, but get one that's a little laid back, a little more easy to get used to. They usually don't require as high a protein diet, so the sheep or dog foods are better, or in some cases better for them, as long as it's not too high in fat. Um, and it's just a better start to get you used to a dog, and how they work, and a good companion. And then later on, if you want to give that dog a companion or whatever, and you feel like you can take on a bit more of a challenge, go for a younger dog or a dog with a little more vitality. But don't jump into the whole, oh my gosh, I'm a new dog owner and I want this husky puppy, because it will taint you for dogs. Huskies are beautiful, beautiful animals, but they are crazy. Absolutely crazy. All of them I've met anyway. Insane. My niece has one. Beautiful dog, love it to death, but it is crazy. And when they get excited, and if any of you guys own huskies, you probably know what I'm talking about. They get excited or want something. When they kind of howl, bark, it sounds like a girl screaming. No lie. Terrifying. But they are beautiful. We are large breed people ourselves. We like the large breeds. I have a Great Dane mix, and a German Shepherd Lab mix. And I don't know why I have an affinity for the large breeds. I just do. Maybe it's because they're not one of the more popular dog sizes for most people, and understandably so. Especially with a Great Dane, because they don't really mature until they're around 3 years old. But they become full grown at around 1.5 years. When I say full grown, they're pretty much as tall as they're going to get. They may thicken up some. So our Jackson, he's a little over 2.5 now, and he weighs almost 140 pounds, and he's still got a lot of puppy in him. And you have a puppy that big, it's a lot of work, takes a lot of correcting. And with the Danes, at least our Dane Jackson, super smart but super thick-headed, very nose-driven, smells, all about the smell. They catch a scent, everything else goes black. It's all about that scent. Which is why you got to be cautious with them outside. Make sure they don't get off a leash or something, because if they catch a scent, they'll walk right out in the highway, whatever. That's kind of cute. We're looking for that personality shot. I really want that. To me, he said he would make a great porch or fishing buddy, or just a chill buddy to sit around. And I'd like to find something that kind of says that. I'm not really finding anything in particular. If you guys see something, please say something. But I don't know. There's a lot of good ones here. Like that one's kind of cute. I still kind of like that one. Shows his ears really well. Curiosity, attention, super sharp. I think I'm gonna do that one. I think I'm going to do that one. And again, and it can vary a little. Use your own judgment here, but if you kind of follow the line of his nose, it's pointing to my right. I believe it shows up the same way for you. Yes. Again, looking across the picture. Now I'm hitting his eye on the third, just because that's kind of where we gravitate to visually. That point makes the picture feel a little better. And I'm going to go ahead and paste those settings on here. Auto it and lighten it up quite a bit on that one. So I'm going to pull that back down, pull a little of the contrast back in it, because the dog is black. Got those grays, and we'll take that grass and stuff off of his face. Get into Photoshop. Alright, so we have, well, I do need to do this. This isn't a kennel card, which is kind of weird, but it does need to go into a 1x1, so it's the same format as everything else. Yeah, there we go. And this is kennel cards. Again, if you've never worked at a kennel, you've never been to a kennel, I imagine most of them have a system like this. All of the kennels have a card like this along with their regular information kennel card on there, particularly kennels that have a lot of volunteers. And you have to have certain levels of training to work with different levels of dog. And that's why, beginners, strong handlers only are the ones that like to pull. Experienced volunteers are ones that may have, be a little snappy or have a knee-jerk reaction to something. So you need to understand the dog. And the red is leave them alone. You may get bitten. And that's for the actual animal control staff. They'll work with those dogs and try to get them slowly into the yellow and then in the blue and then the green. They work so hard with the dogs to try to get them there. Alright, so we got the kennel card crop down. We have the face shot right here. We have a body shot. Not my favorite, but it works. And then we have a personality shot. Kind of a hero shot. I like that. It's a really good picture of him. Pull that down. On to the next. This we have Spudsky, I think that says. Yep, Spudsky. He was a little handful. There are cats there at the shelter as well. And they also keep some ferals outside because there's a lot of dog food and stuff on site. It helps keep the mice and stuff away. And he's seen one of those feral cats and he about lost it. And so I note any of these behaviors when we're taking pictures and I report that back to the kennel staff so that they can note it to test them for to make sure that that's the actual issue. Because again, it could be because the dog's just been cooped up and trying to get rid of some energy. But they'll evaluate him officially for that. All right, kennel cards. We need a face shot. Blinking. Looks like we got quite a few face shots on him. Of course, we don't want eyes closed. That's unusable. That one looks a touch soft. No, it's not bad. Not bad either. We got quite a few to choose from here. That might be usable for something else. I hate to nab a headshot out of that. When I'm looking for headshots in my pictures, I usually try to grab something that is pretty much only good for a headshot. Like this, for instance, isn't a bad one. It's fairly sharp. It's not tack sharp, but it's fairly sharp. But because his head is lower in the picture, it makes him look timid or scared, so I'm really not interested in showing the composition of that or how he's posed. But I could pull a decent headshot out of it. And that leaves me the other pictures to use for the other two, as well as every now and then the staff will ask, hey, do you have any extra pictures of so-and-so? Because we want to do this or that with the pictures. And so I'm going to be able to go in and pull some of those extra good shots out for him. It's a little bit big on a headshot, but his ear is sticking out there. It's going to drop his eyes down. It's a little bit further than I like it, but... Push it back up a little. I'll go ahead and paste our settings here and see where we land. Develop settings, paste. Not bad. I'm going to auto that and see what it does. A little bit dark. Slide that exposure up. Not that much. It is so touchy. So touchy. Pull that contrast up just a little more. And we'll also, I like to brighten their irises a little bit as well. And that's something else we'll do in Photoshop where it's necessary. Again, the idea here, this is all marketing. This is to get someone to fall in love with the animal when they see it, if they're interested in such an animal. It's just kind of that selling ticket. So we brighten up their eyes a little bit. And when I do go in and edit these pictures, and this for me is just an ethical thing to do, I will go in, like if you see here, he's got a little eye booger right here, and he's got a little right here. I'll take those out just because I can, and it's simple and it's fast. But if they have something on them that is a physical trait, like here, it looks like he's got a little lump on his ear. I will not remove that because if he gets adopted, and if he has a bath between now and the time he gets adopted, odds are either he won't have that eye booger, it'll be a different spot. so that's no problem. But that will still be there. That will probably be with him his whole life. And I do not want to misrepresent an animal ever, because that's no good for the animal or anybody that wants to come and adopt him or her. So be mindful of that if you do edit animal photos. Make sure you're true to the animal and you don't mislead people. Oh, well, yeah, brown eyes, I want to make them blue, or I want to change fur color a little bit. Don't do that. That's not good, because people will get there and be disappointed. Or the dog, or they may get there and go ahead and take the dog anyway and decide they didn't like that because it wasn't what they seen and what they wanted, and it just doesn't end up well. Better off just to represent them properly the first time. Face shot, body shot. Looks like a pretty good one. I like the stance, nice and attentive. Pretty good. Focus on it. Now with this, I'm probably going to have to crop his tail when I go down to 1:1. Make sure I have nothing else to work with. That one's not bad either, but I don't like where that building break is because it's distracting. Man, that's super sharp too. I don't know how well you can see that, but let me get out just where it's not pixels. But yeah, it's just super sharp. That 7200 Tamron. Beautiful lens. Beautiful lens. And super versatile. The only thing you really can't do with it, the only, I say, problem I've ever ran into, it's not really a problem, you just got to switch lenses, is when you're doing like event photography and you have to go into a small space. Because 70 millimeters in a small space, you need probably at least 20 foot to work with. And that's just to get maybe 1 or 2 faces. Anything more than that, and you just can't hit it with that 70 very well. Not and try to get any kind of composition out of it. I would drop to, a 50 millimeter or even a 35. All right, there's a headshot, body shot, and that one. We're going to see what becomes of this. I'm going to crop it down. 1:1. Now see, if I wanted all of the dog, I could leave it kind of like this. To me, compositionally, this is a wreck. It's kind of an ugly picture. There's a lot of white up here competing with the dog. Not a huge fan. Now if I pull this around a little bit, I'm trying to get as much of his tail in there as I can and still make the composition at least decent. That's not bad. A little less competition on the upper space. Go ahead and apply the changes to this, or settings, and see how we come out. A little dark again. Understandable, so we got so much white in the screen. Again, that auto, it just takes your histogram and tries to match it all up and even it all out, and that's not always the best way to do it. I use it as a starting point. Sometimes it butchers it so bad that I can't. I gotta completely back out of it and just do it all myself. But typically speaking, this works, and it makes for quicker edits. Lets me get through them quicker and processed. That's a little too much contrast. So here you can see, even though I am using an on-camera flash, and you can see that right there, it just really didn't pull the iris out. So they almost, from here, they almost just look like dark spots. And I'll definitely go in and pull that out a little bit more so you can really see those eyes. Okay, body shot, head shot, personality shot. Again, he was not a fan of cats. Here's a funny one. He was not a fan of cats. He was pretty pacey. He liked to pace around a lot. And again, getting them out of those kennels and into some grass and green space, they get a little excited. That looks soft though. It is a touch. Oh, that's kind of cute. Looks very submissive in that one. Which he was. He wasn't. I like that too though. I really like the. Looks very smart in that picture. Which he seemed to be. There's a really cute one too. It's super soft though. The ears laid back. And I think don't like that one. So yeah, I think it's kind of a toss-up. I can probably pull a lot of the shadows out of that one, but it's a little soft. Again, by the time I down-res it, it probably won't matter. And it almost looks like it doesn't have a tail there either, which she does. But people are only getting 3 photographs, so they have to completely determine what that dog's about from 3 photographs. And if one of them is like that, who knows? Maybe they came to that picture first. That dog doesn't have a tail. I don't want a dog without a tail. Again, I don't quite understand that, but it gets asked a lot when I get a picture of a dog that's got they're either scared and their tail's tucked up under them, or they're swinging it and it swung around the other side when I got the picture. I get asked that a lot. I'm gonna try this one and see what it looks like when we get it all kind of edited here. Let's see if I end up liking it. Everything's still looking okay, yeah. And very low drop rate today too. Last week, because of my schedule, I can only stream Sunday, Monday, Tuesdays. Last week when I streamed, I was getting a lot of drop frames. So for composition here, I'm looking at his nose line again. It goes a little bit to the right, but not much, so I wouldn't be scared to center this one. But if nothing else, I'll push it a little to the left. Just trying to kind of balance the angles out. And again, this is personal preference. You edit how you see fit. But it does drive me nuts when I see things like this. Or like this. Please don't do that. Basic composition is pretty simple and straightforward. And it doesn't mean you have to stick within the rules either. I mean, if your whole art style is to do pictures of dogs and crop them like that, if that's your theme, fantastic. There's nothing wrong with that. But when you got one here and one's over here and one's like that and down, don't do that. You drive a lot of people nuts. People like me. But again, the whole theory behind it is to get people focusing, because people read and look at things in certain ways, to get them focusing in the right places, directing the viewer, directing their eyes. And because we have so much white space, I'm actually going to pull that up a little. And I already applied my camera settings. Yep, I'm going to auto that and probably pull it down too dark. It did a little bit. Let me just slide the shadows up this time because I have that pavement above them. And it's really not helping too much, but I didn't want to pull that pavement up anymore. Didn't have to because it draws your attention away from the dog. And again, you will rarely ever get a perfect shot in a setting like this. There's so many distractions in such limited space that you just kind of got to take what you can get. Try it, and the more you do it, the more you get an idea of what you can get away with and where you're going to catch them doing this, that, or the other. I use a little. I went out to a pet store and I bought a squeaky toy. That's when I first started doing this, and I basically took a knife, cut it open, and pulled the squeaker out. And I learned shortly after that you get maybe 2, sometimes 3 squeaks before the dog completely ignores it. Because sometimes a dog is just not behaving and not doing what we want him to do. And often be like, make a noise, squeak the squeaker. And I'm like, I will, but I have to. What I wait for is if the dog's moving a lot, the first thing, and I mentioned to the wife, is like, well, just sit still for a minute and let them wear themselves down a bit. Because they're burning off that excitement, that energy from coming out. And once they kind of burn that off and they're calming down some, then I'll kind of watch what they're doing and try to read them so that when I click that squeaker, I know they're going to look at me and I can snap that shot. Because the second that flash goes off, most dogs turn away. That flash scared them, and rightfully so. And you could maybe use constant lights for this. I don't. They're expensive, first of all. I've always used the on camera and I've had a lot of luck with it. The downside is the dogs can be scared of it. So think about that too. But You get one, two, sometimes three squeaks out of it till they ignore it. So I always got to wait till try to catch that right moment. Squeak, shoot, and it never fails. On some dogs, you will you'll take a picture and you'll miss it because it just turned or something. And as soon as you miss that shot because the flash went off, they go, and now your flash isn't recharged. Now my camera will shoot pretty fast, and my flash recharge rate is okay, but it's not, I can't shoot 3 shots at a time. And they'll look back for a second, and I'm like, oh yeah, click, got it. And I'll go and look, and I didn't get any flash, and their eyes are too dark, and while you can adjust that in post, it never looks like the other pictures where the flash went off, unless you want to do a lot of editing, which I don't. And it's so frustrating. Some dogs, that'll happen like 5-6 times in a row. You're like, all right, click, and you just missed it. And then because the flash went off, they look right at you. And you're like, doggone it. You almost want a fake flash that you can flash something they look and you can take another picture. I guess I could just buy a much more expensive flash, but I just don't want to right now. All right, so we got that dog. Just to go over it again, we have a face shot, we have a body shot. This is Jackson, and we have personality shot. And I'll probably take her legs out of that. I think that'll come out all right. Just take that and leash out. Okay, what time is it? 2 o'clock Central. So I have to be out of stream. I have to be out of here by 4. Because I have to be at work shortly after. Unfortunately, but gotta pay those bills, huh? Okay, here we have Arbor. Arbor was pretty sweet. Another pretty chilled dog. I say pretty chilled. She was a sweet dog, and she was a decently behaved dog, but she paced and paced and paced and paced. She would not sit still. And you're sitting here waiting and waiting and waiting, because eventually they'll usually just wear themselves out and they'll start standing still while they look around. Arbor didn't really do that. The few times that she did, when she did stop, she was looking the other direction across the parking lot because somebody was getting in and out of a car. And most pet photographers will tell you when you take photographs, get rid of all the distractions. People, kids, things, other animals. Get rid of all the distractions so you can get the dogs and have the dog's attention. Well, when you do shelter photographs, it's not that simple. You can still try to find the places with the least distractions, which is what we do, but they're still all over. You still have to fight with them. What a dog. Fairly sharp. The touch soft. Not enough to notice. It's a decent face shot as well. I think try this one. Go back to 1-to-1. And nose is pretty straight on. Getting that tongue and the ears. Paste those previous settings. Not stacking, development settings. Let's see what auto does here. I actually did pretty much what I wanted, but it pulled a little too much contrast out. I wanted it to pull those shadows up a bit and flatten the picture out a touch, which it did. And I like that. Now we need a body shot, and I don't think I got a good body shot of her because she did so much darn pacing, and she did not have a tail. You can maybe see the stub right there. And I think these are the only 2 that I have that were actually full body. What a doll. I went ahead and took that knowing full well she would be in front of my wife, and if I was to use it, I wouldn't be able to take her out. But catching her personality was so tough. This was another good personality shot, but my wife was trying to get her attention so that she would stay looking forward, but it's hard to get them not only to look in your direction but at you. She totally ignored the squeaker. That would be a great personality shot. She probably was looking at me, and the second I snapped it, looked up, and you got that motion blur right there. And if I run, the problem is if I run any higher of a shutter rate than I was running, which is right around 200, I have to really crank down my depth of field. And when you crank down your depth of field and you're running a high shutter, you're kind of fighting yourself, because the reason I'm running a high shutter speed is to catch movement. But when you take and really flatten that depth of field, you're narrowing the space you have to work with. So it's kind of a catch-22. And this is about between 5.6 and 6.3 seems to be the sweet spot at around 200ths of a second on the shutter speed. I find is the sweet spot. That's where I get the most usable shots out of it without having to constantly try to fight with what the dog's doing, which can just take up a lot of time. That noise is coming from here. It sounds like I do have a train track that runs near the house, but it's generally small trains. That one's a little bit bigger. I apologize. Anyway, we'll go on. That's kind of cute, but you just can't see their face. Anyway, we were looking for body shot anyway. So we have two options. We've got this one, which is a touch soft, and we have this one, which isn't as soft. I think I'll go with the one where they're more looking at the camera than not. Seems to be the better choice. I'll pull that down. That's not bad. Did my music die out? I know you're catching part of that here. I had to change to an actual screen capture rather than window capture because of the way Lightroom renders that shadow box. When I just try to capture just the application window, you don't see the shadow box. And I guess it's because of the way they route it through the GPU, and I tried several things to get around it. No, it's still playing. But I just could not get it to work consistently, so I just went with the video screen capture. And this is only a small portion. This monitor that this is on is huge, and it's got a 5.4 aspect, I think, on it. But anyway, we'll work with that. I'm going to put my development settings on here. Go ahead and auto that out. Did flatten out a little for me. Seems like it might be a little bright yet. Alright, and around the center there. And I'm not sure why Lightroom has such a fetish with flattening that contrast out. And maybe it's just a personal taste for me, but I don't like them that flat. I don't like the picture that flat. And I don't know why it's auto. Well, I guess it is what it is. It's an auto button, so. But it does gravitate towards that. Okay, body shot, headshot. What a doll. Now we need that personality. It's kind of a cute picture. That one's way out there. I wish she would have stayed still for a minute. That was caught a little too high, so there's no feet. I'm gonna see what this looks like. I may use this anyway. Now this one, reason I'm sliding her over to the left is because for this composition I am bringing a person into the picture, showing kind of, you know, the interaction between the dog and a person, for the personality part of it. So I'm just gonna see what this looks like. We may use it. Auto that. Auto didn't do bad that time. It didn't flatten it out too bad either. Just a hair. Yeah, I think I'll do that, and we will get rid of this leash part, and you'll see in a minute how much better that makes the picture feel. Okay, and we've got one more dog, and after this dog, I will take a quick 5-ish minute break, get up, stretch my legs. If you've been here with me the whole time, thank you for the support. I really appreciate that. But I also recommend you get up, move around a little bit, keep them legs a pumping. Here's another sweetheart. Really sweet dog. And you'd be surprised at how many, I was anyway, I was surprised. Because you think, you know, shelters, especially a county shelter, they just collect everything that either nobody wants or is roaming. You think, you know, well, most dogs are going to be dirty and filthy and behave poorly and have bad manners. Most of them, this guy has tags. So he was either surrendered or an escape artist. One of the two. But most of the dogs are really sweet. And we're going to go with this as a face shot. Paste those on. Pull this headshot out of here. You can auto that, so bring it down a little, and it did. I'm actually even okay with the contrast on that. I'm good with that. And that's why I love the auto sometimes, because sometimes it works well. It does a good job. Oops, squinty eye. I'm just going to get that one off the hard drive. Body shot. Soft, but not bad. No flash. Too high. Just get rid of that one now. We're going to go with this one, even though it's a touch soft. And you run into that a lot. Shooting animals. And if I really, you know, if it was super important that I nailed it, if I was going to print these or they were going to be really big, I would overshoot a lot more to make sure I got one that was nice and crisp with the movement, like I would for a toddler. But for these, it's just, no, you'll never notice. And here I'm going to end up losing something. Unless I just do... Not the biggest fan, but I think that'll work. I think that'll work. Go ahead and auto that. Hopefully it'll bring it down here. And it did a little too much. My shadows. Pull that contrast back up a touch. And I'm good with that. Personality. Did we get a personality? Not really. We do have this shot. Looks soft. It is. Seems to be a popular thing today. Don't need that. I guess I'm gonna go with this one. It seems to be the best choice I have. And again, if you're here, thank you for being here. And if you're not sure what we're doing, if you just came in, every Sunday, my wife and I, we volunteer at a local county shelter. We go up and help photograph a lot of the pets that came in over the past week or two. That we may not have gotten to last week, or just came in to get them decent pictures to put on the websites and for social media. help get them adopted. Once I take those pictures, I come home and I bring them all here into Lightroom. And here I do some of the cropping and rough edits. Kind of get the colors nailed and the white balance and everything the way I like it. And then we will go into Photoshop and we will remove leashes and eye boogers and things of that nature. And then after that, and I really don't like this picture. I really don't. I don't like how bright that, it seems like it was brighter today than normal, and it was overcast for the most part. We had some sunny splotches, which you might have seen from the other pictures. Which overcast is typically a good thing. I don't have a problem shooting with the sun either, as long as it's not high noon sun. I can do it then too, but I prefer it to be a little bit of an angle. Because I'm shooting on camera flash, I'm not shooting all natural. And it's a little soft, but that's better. All right, I've gotten all those edited, and now we're going to go through and to the ones that have been edited. Is that really how that's going to work? It's only going to sort inside the stack? It is. Well, I guess I'll make that work. So now we're going to take a quick 5 minutes or so break, maybe probably less. I get up, stretch my legs and whatnot. And when we come back, we're going to go through and we're going to Photoshop these and export them into JPEGs and get them started for the process of packaging them up and sending them off to the other volunteers. So with that, again, thank you for being here. If you have any questions or anything, please, ask in chat. If you're curious about anything or have any comments or even technical stuff about the stream, again, I just started streaming again last week from like 4 years ago. So, and I know the audio might be a touch quiet, and just for some reason, all of my audio runs that way. Might just turn me up a little bit. I personally prefer to be a little quiet than too loud anyway, but that's me. But if you have any suggestions, I think there's also a suggestion box down in the panels. If you don't want to call out on chat, and you can pop ideas in there and I'll definitely consider them. I appreciate that. But on that note, I'll be right back. If I go to the right screen. All right, we're back. Thanks for hanging around, and I'm gonna take this wallet out of my pocket. I wish it was money that made it uncomfortable, but it's not. So, we're going through now, and we're gonna edit up these pictures in Photoshop, get rid of the leashes, this and that and the other. Now when I go back and forth, actually, maybe I have Photoshop set up so I won't have to. I do actually. Yeah, okay. But I might have to switch it up because for whatever reason, when you're on the loading screen in Photoshop, the selection screen, it's solid black on stream. I don't know why, but anyway, we'll just be able to do it this way. So we are going to go ahead and edit this in Photoshop. Photoshop. Bring it up. Yep. And I'm not sure if we'll be able to take her out or not. There's not a lot of space here to work with, but we'll sure give it a shot. But first, we're gonna start nice and simple and see. Photoshop actually did a really good job last week of just knocking these things out in huge strokes. Let's see if it'll do the same this week. Bam. Really? Tell me that's not worth it. That's so awesome. And we'll leave that. And we'll try this two ways. First, I'm just going to try spot healing her out here and see what that does. It's probably going to be a wreck because there's so much happening here. And we'll determine there what we might want to do with it moving forward. And I'm just going to outline this crudely. And then just kind of fill in the space. And we could, you know, I don't know, we may try content aware fill. I'm not sure. We'll just see what happens. If it doesn't do too bad, we might just leave it. And I am using a mouse and keyboard. I do have a stylus that I use when I'm editing people usually. But it didn't do too bad. We'll have to add the lines back in there. But not shabby. Pull her foot out of here. Looks like it left something weird there for a minute. It's not bad. Not bad. And we need to add these lines back in. So for that, I'm just going to use a clone. I'm going to start up here. I'll make this bigger for the sake of seeing my line and get my line kind of where I want it. I clicked once there just to kind of set. Now I can, it looks like this might end up being too dark or too light. Yeah. And that's just because of the way that it, yeah, see, the way that it filled that. But we'll run with this for a minute and see if we can still pull it off. We might yet still pull it off. I'm just going to get a little more difficult. If I leave that color contrast right there, I might be able to just Gaussian blur that. You know, it look more like a shadow than anything. But let's see what else we can get out of here. It's choppy. Let's try that again. Still a little choppy. Not a huge fan, but again, we might be able to work a lot of that out. And I can always back up. Taking that leash out was simple. If this doesn't seem to play well. And the only other time I really run into this kind of, this degree of editing, you know, if you're thinking about getting into doing this, don't let this intimidate you. Because you can really do whatever your skill level allows. I mean, there are a ton of people out there a lot better than I am at this, for sure. But just do what your skill level allows. Just don't overdo it. That's the worst. Don't over process the images. Unless you're trying to create some artistic picture out of it, of course. But just really try not to do that, because it not only does it misrepresent the animal, it's in, you know, unless you can consistently recreate that exact same style, it doesn't do anybody any good. So we're going to do a Gaussian blur on this and just, you know, feather that out so it's not such a harsh line. Looks a little weird, and you kind of trained eye can tell anyway, but this will make it look more like a shadow. I'm okay with that. It's not bad. I'm going to go ahead up here. I'm going to sharpen the eyes up just a little bit. And then I'm going to use my dodge tool. And I'm at 40% here, and I'm just going to pop these a little bit more than they are right now. Just kind of helps bring them out. And I know I still see a little bit of her shadow here, but honestly, if you didn't know she was there, you just think it's a tree or who knows. So I'm just going to save that. And that went back into our Lightroom as a new picture in that stack. And I'm now upgrading that to a 2, knowing this is the edited version of that picture. Do our next one. And we'll do this a little bit faster as we go. Just kind of walking you guys through the process of what I do. If I can get you into doing the same for shelter animals, fantastic. If you already do, thank you so much. It means a lot to the animals and to the shelter and everybody else that has to do with those animals. And I'm not going to get away with that. So I'm going to cheat a little here. And just take some of those out. And again, this is not fine art. This is not going crazy. It's like 2 or 3 tools, I think, here is all I'm using. Now this can be a little trickier because of the wrinkles. And when you use the healing brush tool, sometimes it has a tendency to twist and warp the fur in a weird way. That didn't do bad. That did alright. But sometimes it'll take those wrinkles and twist or turn it, and it looks really weird and awkward, and you end up fighting it. Sharpness okay there. I'm going to pop those eyes a little bit. Again, we're at 40%. And actually, I think I'm going to go more for the mid-tones. There, pull a little harder on that. And, you know, again, the idea here is not to misrepresent the animal. It's just to make those features pop. All right, and then another one down. So we got those 2. We should have one more, which would be the body shot. Maybe. And I did notice last stream when I watched the VOD, when I'm loading these into Photoshop, sometimes they can be a bit jarring on the stream, because these images are pretty large. They're in their raw state from D810. It's a lot of data to process for even the best GPUs, or CPUs and GPUs in this case. So apologize for the little stutters you might get there. And I don't rightly know what is on that wall, but we're going to try to get rid of it. Just because it's distracting. So is that dirt mark or whatever that is. Yeah, I'm enlarging the circle to really see where I'm hitting it. And then I can take it down and tweak those spots. There, it's not as distracting now. Back to our healing brush. I'm going to take a big swipe at it. This doesn't always work, but here in the past few times, a few weeks. I don't know if they did an update on it or anything, but it seems to work a lot better than it did in the past. Look at that. Beautiful. Beautiful and simple. Now we just need to get the collar off the neck. Again, we're just spot healing these to get rid of the leash, because I personally prefer them not in the pictures. And when I get little weird areas, because sometimes it does pull the color or the texture down from a strange spot and leave you with a funny spot, 9 times out of 10 you can go back and just click on it a couple times and it will straighten up. And I didn't quite like that crease right there. It's still a little bunched up right here. I don't know, maybe we'll see if we can pull a little bit of that out. It's not quite so obvious. And that's not bad. So, you know, what we started with, yeah, which is the distracting spots on the wall. Again, we want the focus to be the dog. It's just marketing 101. Put the attention on what you're trying to get people to look at. Don't want distractions. Got rid of the dark spots on the wall, got rid of the leash, got rid of the leash around the neck. We haven't popped the eyes yet. And I apologize if you hear the dryer in the background, or people for that matter. Again, this is kind of an odd day time to stream for me, but because I got called in, I have to do what I have to do to get it done. It is 2:30 Central. Pop that a little bit. It just brings it so you can really see their eyes. I'm good with that. Save that. So we got those 3 pictures now. Those are all ready for export. I'm gonna go ahead and put the kennel card back at the top of the stack. And you just click on the number and that'll slide it up to the top. And then I can just collapse them. And I know that I'm done with those. On to the next one, which is Jackson. This makes me kind of grin inside when I hear it because of our Jackson. And I'll have him. I haven't had him on stream yet. Because this is only my second stream. I got to stream once last week on Tuesday. And this week, I'm going to stream now until probably around 4, I'm guessing. And then tomorrow is going to depend because I'm working midnights tonight when because I got called in for midnight where I normally work in the morning. So this is going to be interesting. I get home tomorrow and then I got a dentist appointment earlier in the day. Hopefully I can wake up for that. After that, if I'm not feeling totally out of it, or one way or another, I'm going to stream some tomorrow. I just don't know for how long or how that's going to work out. I'm scheduled to start tomorrow at noon. Don't know if I'm going to get started at noon, but we're going to try. But then we'll be doing games. The dog stuff is Sundays. So, and if you enjoy the dog stuff or the Photoshop or Lightroom or whatever, you know, hit that follow button. And just know that if it's Sunday and you see that alert pop up, we're going to be editing dog pictures, talking about some puppies. So if you haven't followed, make sure you do that. And we are going to edit this in Photoshop and get rid of that leash. And let's see. It can also, sometimes the healing brush runs into a little trouble in high contrast points. Notice how that's really white. I think that's PVC piping or something from a gutter against a kind of dirt stained wall. But we'll see. We're going to take a big old chunk out of it. And that's probably not going to work. It didn't do bad. It messed up a little there and it definitely didn't like that plant. But we might still be able to work with that. Go ahead and try to pull the rest of that out. I don't like how that did that. But I don't know that we're going to have any other choice just because of the way that knot comes together. I'm just going to have to get in there and fine tune that. So we're going to attempt to fine tune this a little. And what I'm going to do is try to round this back out. Flow is around 63%. And just take that weird lump that it put on it off. And you'll notice sometimes too, and I don't know if you can see it on the stream, but there is a color shift line right there. You can kind of see it, it looks like on the stream. But the healing tool will do that a lot too. Spot healing. It's just something you learn to work with. It sure beats the alternative to redrawing all that. And this, we're gonna try to cheat this. See if we can. And the objective in a lot of these cases when the editing for me, it's not to recreate the real scene that was there before that object was in the way. All you have to do is edit it in a way that it's believable, because nobody else has seen that but you, the editor, in most cases. So as long as you put it to a realistic sort of state, no one will ever notice. Don't kill yourself over it. Don't kill yourself over it. And this, I'm not sure how I'm going to handle that. Just trying to get some of the lines worked out right now. And this is from that leash pulling the fur up a little, I think. I think we can work with that. And again, all you're trying to do is recreate or create something that's believable. I mean, and especially at low res, you're never gonna know. You never know it. It's a little bit soft. We're gonna sharpen those eyes up with just a hair. And we're at about 20% strength here. I don't like to push too hard because sometimes it'll really make the eyes do crazy things. So you do it a little at a time until you're kind of happy with it. 40% on the dodge tool to pull these irises out. And we're using midtones right now. Sometimes it can depend on the color of the eye, whether you use the midtones, the shadows, or the highlights. Midtones typically safe place to start. Got some tears going on here. Get rid of that just to clean it up. And I'm good with that. It's down. Upgrade that to 2. And now we got our headshot. Edit in Adobe. And this should do an okay job. It's probably going to be a little weird with that foliage, but we'll see what happens here. Yeah, it did a little weird. That's okay. We'll clean that up with the clone tool. Maybe. See how I go by doing this. So the idea with the clone tool is to try to take the environment around what you're trying to straighten up and just make it blend. I think I'm going to end up having to take this anomaly all the way up to make it believable. And again, no one else seen that picture, so as long as you can make the picture, as long as you can make it believable, as long as it doesn't draw too much attention, you'll get away with it. Don't sweat it. I get caught up sometimes in the details of, well, it just doesn't look quite right. And it's harder for some of us than it is for others, but I don't like where this is going, this spot. So I'm just going to blur this, which is a typical good answer when you have a spot that's just not behaving. Gaussian blur that. And see, now this, because the blur is so heavy, it's pulling some green off the side of this leaf. So we're going to back that down until we get rid of that. And there we go. I'll believe it. I'm not a huge fan of that, but it's really not worth the extra time it takes to sit there and dink with it. That particular part is not going to make or break whether or not this dog gets adopted. The irony of it is a lot of this won't, and which is why I was saying earlier, even if it's just a photo with your cell phone, and if you do little to no editing, just kind of get a decent idea of what lighting should be, what it looks like, and try to make them consistent. Consistency is a big deal in making your stuff look good. Even if it's not the greatest picture on the planet, as long as it's somewhat consistent, it'll be just fine. And it's probably way better than what they currently have on file, if any. If any. Get the leash down here. We'll see what we can do with that. That's not bad. Getting some lines that I do not like in there. And, you know, again, and it's difficult to think about it this way, but unless the viewer edited or seen the unedited version of the picture, they'll never know. They'll never know. I just try to get anything out that's kind of glaring. You see a little pattern striping right there from the tool that I'm using. And we'll see what that looks like zoomed out. And you can always, if you don't like it when it does that, just find a place that has similar tone to it. And just kind of click in a few spots and bust that pattern up. And I still don't really like that mustard green or whatever in the world color that is that came through there. That's better. I think we did anything with his eyes. Doesn't look like it anyway. Pull that up a touch. Yeah, I'm good with that. I'm gonna save that. Little tooth. It's funny. And back to Lightroom, or upgrade that to a, not to a 3, to a 2. And we should have one more. Personality shot. In this case, it's more of a hero shot. That is not the window I meant to open. Edit in Photoshop. Alright. This one's really sharp. They stay still for even close to still for a second or two. Get these out of it, but man, sometimes they just do not want to sit still for you. But if you kind of get flustered, in my case, my camera with that lens probably weighs around 4 pounds. And when you sit there and you're holding it because you're sitting there waiting for that perfect shot. And sometimes they just keep doing so you get a little tired and frustrated, so you pull the camera down for a second and then boop, they'll pose for you, pull the camera up, and they're right back where they were. It'd be so infuriating sometimes. But it's worth it. It is worth it. And let's see if we can bulk edit this one. That I can work with. Let's see if we can do anything with this. Probably have to clone that out. Or he's got a pointy head. Let's see if we can clone that out. Let's start there. don't have a lot to work with here. Yeah, thank you. Don't care for this whole spot. But one problem at a time. I'm okay with that crown. Still a little bit high, but it'll be okay. And I'm gonna go ahead and grab all of this. And that's gonna be too close, so I'm gonna have to take that back out. And get rid of this part. Probably still not enough. The reason I don't want to get too close is because otherwise my blur will pull that brown up. And we want to do a blur, a Gaussian blur. Just to get rid of some of those lines. And you see there when I pump it up, it pulls that brown. And the closer you are to it, the more it's going to pull. So back it up till it's not. It's about where we were before. And that's alright. That'll work. Cut this leash out of here. Break that up. Another tricky spot along the ear is because there's usually a dark line around the ear from the shadow. And the healing brush will eliminate that shadow altogether and leave you with a little bit of an odd spot. So I usually end up cloning the edge to clean those up. Already good and sharp there. I am going to pop them a little bit. Get those irises out. Good with that. And rate that one at 2. I didn't move my stack. Picture the top of the stack. Or card, should I say. And now, Sam. Body shot. Drink here. See, that's what I mean about blurry. I don't know, actually, that's so small you probably can't tell, but it's not on autofocus. For one, that's a 35mm. It doesn't have autofocus. It's an older one. But even the ones that do, the autofocus is so bad on the Nikon. On the 810 anyway. Now when I mean autofocus for video, I do use back button focus for photography. I'm probably gonna have problems with the plants here, but maybe we can fix that after. And it would help if I would draw a line in the right place. So it didn't do bad. It's a little funky on the top of this one, but overall, not too shabby. I'm good with that. Now these are the tough ones because the leash, a lot of times the leash will end up actually overlapping the collar, and those are extremely difficult to get off and look right. I usually end up taking the entire collar off the dog in those cases. With this one, the leash is butted up against the collar. We may or may not be able to pull it off. We're going to try. This is probably going to pull a lot of that red over and make it look goofy. It's not bad. It's a little awkward right here. Especially where that line is. I'm guessing it's a little bit of a shadow. We're going to try to knock some of that out. And you can already see how it's kind of Starting to butcher it up quite a bit. But when we're zoomed out, can't really tell. So this dog has some grass and stuff all over him. They probably rolled on the ground. Which also happens a lot. They're really excited to get out of those kennels. Some dander, which is also kind of common in a shelter. They can't bathe them every day. Or every week even, for that matter. I want to say there's probably... At this shelter, there's probably around almost 200 dogs at any given time. And for a smaller shelter, that's a lot of animals to take care of. I don't know how they do it. But I'm glad they do. Piece of grass on his eye here. I don't really like what that did. Kind of blurred the gray hair there. Okay, and bring those eyes up some. Or eye. Can't even see the other eye. Oh my goodness, excuse me. Ugh. And it's again the irony of my work schedule. I work 12 to 14 hour shifts, and my work starts at 5 a.m. So I get up really early to get there on time. And then they call. And to come in for a midnight shift, I was like, wow, my sidewalks are like rolling up at 8 or 9 o'clock at night. And you want me to come in and work a midnight shift. So we're going to see how it goes. I should have just told him no. That's what I should have done. But my wife probably would have been kind of mad at me if I had done that. You gotta keep her happy. Happy wife, happy life. Right? That's what they say. My wife's pretty cool. We've been married over 16 years. Which isn't a long time, but it's a pretty good amount of time. And we get along very well. I mean, we have never had like a knockdown, drag out fight. We've gotten into some pretty good debates from time to time, but nothing unhealthy. Which is good, that's why we're still together. Unfortunately, a lot of people can't say that with their spouses. And ooh, that came out ugly. That might be alright. That works. And back to Lightroom. Upgrade that to a 2, and we will move on to the next photograph. This was the personality or hero shot. Edit in. Oh, I gotta hurry up, man. It's 2:45. Dang it. And this isn't even that many photos. There wasn't that many dogs this week. I need to talk less and focus more, right? Not bad. I don't know what they did to this tool, but I'm loving it. I am loving it. And dodge these eyes up a little. The brown ones can be tricky when you go to dodge them, because if you aren't really careful, you'll actually get them to look hazy, like they have cataracts. So if you do dodging to a dog's eyes that are brown, which a lot of them are, it's a very predominant color, just pay close attention while you're doing it, that you don't overdo it, because it will make them look like they have cataracts, look really hazy. At least that's, in my experience, is what's happened. what that white dot is there. And you can notice that little eye booger there. Here we've got a funny hair. It's probably just a floating hair that got stuck to the tier. I got grass. Pull that off. Beautiful. He was so cool. I wish I had a bigger home. Actually, I don't. I would have so many dogs if I had a bigger home. I have 3 now. And I mean, it's not a small home. It's 2,200 square feet, I think. On about a half an acre. And I have the 3 dogs, but that's really all this place can handle. It's all we can handle between working and everything and making sure they get the attention that they need. But it makes it hard to go to the shelter and you see these animals. There's a, I don't remember what his name is now. I hear so many dogs' names, but he's a St. Bernard mix. I think it was Anatolian St. Bernard because he's a big boy. Such a doll. And my wife was saying, hey, look, because we had seen him last week, and he was there this week, but he was out in the play area. And we were walking by, and my wife said, oh, look, he's still here. And I said, yeah, I said, he probably won't make it out of here because big dogs aren't popular for people. And I mean, there are good reasons for that. They can eat a lot. They can take up a lot of room. They can eat a lot of things. So we went back in, and we were kind of mentioning him to one of the managers there. And they said, oh, yeah, he's going to be neutered Tuesday. I think Monday or Tuesday. Because they think they've got him home. I said, yes. Because he's one of those dogs where I want to say, you know, if before it comes to a decision that dog's not going to leave this kennel, let me know. And I'll work out some way to foster him until he can get adopted. Which would be incredibly difficult in our circumstance with the amount of dogs we already have in our work schedules. But it beats the alternative. And breaks my heart to even think about it. But thankfully it sounds like he's going to get home. So I'm happy to hear that. Very happy. We got the body shot, we got the personality shot, we're missing the head shot. Which is right here. And our drop frames is still really, really good. It's better than it was last week. I don't know why it was so bad last week. But it was running 2 and 3% last week. And this week it's under 1%. That's awesome. Awesome. Man, I was hoping to get in a little bit. There's a new game I've been messing around with. I won't spoil by telling you the name of. But it's kind of one of those little puzzle games. It's like a platformer style. It's pretty. It's a little bizarre. If you're an artsy kind of person, though, I think you'd appreciate it. Not that it's really crazy. It's just got its own little style to it. Very moody. Let's put it that way. There's a lot of ambiance. I've got a little bit. I'm not quite sure why I got that, but I did get a little bit of the green eye going on there, and we'll fix that back in Lightroom. Actually, we can probably just fix it here. Gone. I'd actually, in all I've taken thousands of pictures of dogs, and that's the first time I've seen that. He must have just been looking at just the right angle at that flash. But that one's good. We got the neckline right. Yep. Eyes look alright. Clean. There's a little bit of grass right there. Get rid of that. Pop those eyes a little. There we go. Back to Lightroom. I'm going to upgrade that rating. So now we have all three. Clap Sam there. My goodness, gotta hurry. Halfway through these edits. Edit in. Photoshop. Gotta hurry, gotta hurry. I want to get these knocked out before I have to go. So we're just gonna try to hit this a little bit faster. Yep, butchered that pretty good. And I think we'll have to clone that out. Which is alright. Sorry, I know I'm getting a little quieter. Again, really want to get these edited before I have to go. And explaining this along the way, because I'm not the world's greatest multitasker, slows this process down quite a bit. So I'm still going to try to talk with you as I go through this. I'm not a big fan of that, but time right now is of the essence. So I think we're just going to leave that the way it is. Tweak anything that needs tweaking. Clean it up a little. I'm going to pull his eyes up, or his eye. Actually, we only have one on this one. I really want that eye to pop. Now that may be a little too much. No, it's not bad. But now you can see part of his eye in there instead of just a sinkhole. Back to Lightroom. Upgrade that one to a 2. Personality shot. I'm gonna need to go check my clothes as well. I didn't have any clean work clothes. I didn't anticipate needing to go in today. And I have them in the dryer. I haven't heard the buzzer go off yet though. What a doll. It's like grass on his chest there. Little eye booger going on. And a big heel to this. See if it'll pull it out okay. Which, with the way it's been behaving, I don't see why it wouldn't. Beautiful. Just amazing how that does that. Lightroom. That one, and now we have the face shot. Pull that over. And not a lot here, but it is kind of an awkward knot. So we'll see if it'll come out right. It didn't do bad. I just leave it alone like that again for the sake of time. There's a white mark right there. Pull those eyes up a bit, and I think we're good here. There we go. And I know that it almost makes him look an orangish, but it's really just brightening the color that's already there. So I'm not really afraid of it. I don't consider that a color change. Like I had mentioned earlier that you want to be careful with that. Changing a dog's appearance in some way. Misrepresenting the animal, basically. Okay, 2 more, and it's now 3 o'clock Central. Faster, 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 faster. Normally 6 dogs would take me about an hour, hour and a half. And we're already running into the 3-hour mark. Actually, it may even be a little more than that. I don't know if it'll... I think I got this command. Two hours and 12 minutes. So. And that's when we started editing these. And there's only 6 of them. But when you're not talking and you're just clearly just focusing on what you're doing, it'll go quite a bit faster. Or as I do it and talk at the same time, because I'm, believe it or not, although I am most of the time talking to myself, I'm not very good at it. But I've somehow been pulling it off. And thank you for putting up with it, for those of you that are here. Yeah, this one, it looks like what happened here, because you notice I hit focus on his coat here on the back. I said he was probably looking forward, and when I went and I clicked and he turned his head to the right, which brought it out, even at a 6.3 aperture, still missed it. So we need to... Probably should have. Can do it here. Not a huge fan of how this does it, but whatever, we're already here. Okay, face shot. This isn't going to work next to his ear, I can almost bet you. It didn't, but the way that it did it still makes it believable. It folded his ear out when his ear actually went straight down right there. I'm not going to worry about it. I think it looks just fine. So I'm going to leave it. And again, when you're really trying to do a good job on these, you wouldn't let stuff like that fly. But you would also, wow, look at all that stuff on his face. But you would also allow for the time to do it the way you needed to do it. In this case, I do not have much time. I want to get them done. The faster I get these pictures out there, the faster these dogs might get homes. So I want to get them done. And last week I didn't do these until Tuesday, even though I take pictures on Sunday because of time. It's just kind of like everything folded in all at once. When I originally got in the idea of to start streaming again, and I started getting all the equipment in and getting everything together, my schedule just kind of went stupid. And it's a bit upsetting because I was really looking forward to doing it more often and more of it. And hopefully it'll chill and I'll be able to do that. Because I would like to, I want to at least get 12 hours of streaming in a week. I'd like to get more than that, especially on the gaming aspect. I do play a lot of games. Nothing too crazy. Been a gamer my entire life. I always will be. And I enjoy them, and I enjoy talking to people about them in the community. And so this just seemed like a natural, actually seemed like something that I should have been doing a long time ago, which I did, just not to very much of a degree. I really wasn't in the position. There's my dryer. I wasn't in the position to be able to do that. What a gorgeous dog. I am going to pop his eyes a little. Don't need to do too much because he's already got really good irises. Love it. We're going to edit this one more picture of him and then we'll have one more dog. But after this picture, I need to go... Excuse me. I need to go grab my laundry out of the dryer. I don't want to wear a wrinkled shirt to work. Yes, I hear you. It has a... I put it on there knowing this would happen. It has a dryer function that after it's done drying, which all of them may now, I don't know. But it will spin for a few minutes to keep it from wrinkling and keep buzzing at you. And it does that about, I don't know, it probably does that for about 30 minutes. And then it gives up. It says, well, screw you then. You can have wrinkled clothes. Pull this out of here. Ugh. Grab that blue collar. And, I mean, you could limit its selection area, but it typically has been doing a great job recently. But right now, it's being a bit of a knucklehead. Still left a little blue, but... And I'm going to leave her in there, because again, this is more of a personality shot. Here's a dog just jumping up on her leg. So, you know, it's more of a, hey, here's how I am with people around. She paced a lot. But when she did want to pay attention, she did pay a lot of attention, so... And I'm being silly editing these silly little things. Kick that OCD to the curb. I don't like that saliva booger. There we go. And you probably never would have noticed that on the export. Never would have noticed it. Take that card to the top. I never did crop his kennel card. Her kennel card. His kennel card. This was a boy. The last thing that we are going to do with these pictures, and it doesn't take too long at all, is I pull all the headshots and I put them into a template that I had made. A 1x1 template for Facebook specifically. It also works on Instagram, but I made it specifically for Facebook. And I create a one of the Facebook videos. You can create a video out of pictures. So we'll put it in that template and I'll export those so that I can import them into Facebook and make a little video so that people can share them out. I send that to the volunteers and the volunteers will share those videos out. But I am going to AFK for just a second to get my clothes out of the dryer, so I don't have to wear wrinkled clothes to work. And then when we come back, we got one more dog to edit, which hopefully shouldn't take long, and then we're going to do their templates. So thanks for hanging out, and we'll be right back. All right, and we are back. Got those folded up. Okay. Now we had one more dog to edit here. This is Scrappy, who did not like cats at all. I say at all. I don't know, when he's on the leash, he's seen some feral cats. And he was not too keen on them. But not everybody has cats either. We do not, for instance. My wife is allergic to them, to their hair or the dander. Pretty good. And Cyrus has already looked pretty good. Got some grass on his nose. Look at that. Whatever that is. Save that one. close it maybe. If I can find the button. Body shot. He was so thrilled to be outside. And who can blame him? Who can blame him? And pull green out of that, which I'm not too keen on. I don't like going too small with the healing tool because it starts to become very obvious that that's what it was. That, no, I'm not the greatest with it either, so that looks awful. That looks awful. I don't have another place with that shade of brown to grab it. I just gotta leave the green there. I'll fake it. Can't make it, fake it. Still doesn't look very good. I'll blur it just a little bit and it'll be alright. Like I was saying earlier, it doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to not be distracting, because if it's not distracting, nobody will ever notice. What is on his leg? Dirt? Lots of hair, he needs it brushed. Get rid of this dirt on his legs. I'm not looking forward to going in on midnights. Have I mentioned that yet? Looks good. One more picture. And then we should be good to do our final edits. Oh wow, that was brutal. Looks alright, a little soft. Actually, it's a lot soft, but let's sharpen those eyes up a touch. Pop them a little bit on this one. And ride with it. So now we have level 3. Alright, I'm gonna switch over to my beautiful face. Not. And I'm gonna go open that template, which I have to locate, which I believe is on my storage drive. It's usually, because I do this so much, it's usually like right there. But I've been doing a lot of stuff for the stream here lately. And so it's not all in order anymore. Template Facebook, one by one. What's that? And we can go ahead and switch that back to here. And this is from last week. to Lightroom and we need to export some photos. So they have an actual number, an animal control number. And these are dogs. So I'm going to put them in the subfolder, and I do this by date. Today is what, 19th? Not 2049. Holy cow. Prematurely aged myself. And then I put a custom name in the original file number so that I have both things to kind of go by. And this one, A13789. So in exports, it'll export that and then tag on the actual photograph number if for some reason I would need to track that photograph, the original photograph down, and it wasn't in my catalog or something like that. And I'm going to export that. And then I'm just going to take these three, they're the 2 stars, so they're my edited versions. And I'm going to do a file, export with previous. And I'm going to go over and make sure that the folder is there, 5/19/2019. All exported beautifully. Now I'm collapse that. And I will go on to the next dog. And same thing. First one we have to go manually so that we can change their ID number. 1300. And then I'll grab the next 3 edited. Export with previous. Done. Him, I will have to pull the number on because this is not his kennel card. And this was Sam. So I gotta put my reading glasses on for this. Let me find Sam. 13847. 13847. I cannot see my monitor's blurry with those on just for reading. 13, that is not what I said. 13847 47. There we go. Export. Grab the next 3. Alt 2 stars. Export previous. $13,935. And next 3. There's probably a hotkey for that. There is Control-Alt-Shift-E. Control-Shift-E and Control-Alt-Shift-E. I don't remember that. Control-Shift-E. 854. And then I'm going to grab the next 3. Control-Shift-Alt-E. Oh, that's a beautiful thing. I say that. Did I just do the right dog? See how excited I got about that? 854. $854. $935. Well, I just screwed myself all up. Okay, $935. There's the 854. 854. I'm looking at the exports to make sure the pictures are done. I never did move his kennel card to the top, and that's why that jacked with me. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yep, this is number 6. Okay. Yeah, and these are those mug shots I was talking about earlier that they get at the kennel, and this is what we're replacing, is these very uninspired, sad shots. Again, not that I'm blaming the staff. They have very limited resources. I'm just saying that is why we do what we do as photographers for these shelters. 926. 4. Okay, now we can get rid of Lightroom. I really want to quit. I'm not going to back it up at this time because it will eat all my processor. The stream will be worse than it is now. So we are going to start off by pulling up the first dog, which was Jackson. And we are going to change some information. So his name is Jackson. And he is a Labrador Retriever mix. Labrador Retriever. T-R-I, spelling I-E-V-E-R. Retriever mix. Male. So we got the blue background. And now I need his mug shot. I place that right there, and we delete the old dog. And then we're going to export this. 1080. Yeah, 1080 by 1080. 72% quality. Save this. And we want 51919. And this is him, so I can click on any of these. And this is getting cut off on the screen. Hang on, I'll move that whole window over. Sorry about that. And I rename, put master on the end of that. And then on to the next dog. Olive. My dogs are getting feisty. Olive is a leopard mix, and Olive is a female, and we will put her picture in there, the headshot. And we will save that. Let me drag this over. 1080 by 1080, 72 quality. Save that. Just click on any of our pictures. And I always tag those as master. Delete that old picture. And Sam, I'll have to pull off the other card. Sam I am. Sam is a male. And that is all this sheet says. So I'm going to have to look them up on the shelter site. To find out what breed mix they are. His number was 13847. Sam is a Labrador Retriever mix. And a male. So male. And so many doggone windows right now. Sam. There's Sam. Sam's picture. What a great dog right there. I'm going to save that off. Find his pictures. Click on any of them. And master file. Then we have arbors. And arbors is an American Blue Heeler mix. Female. pull her face shot off there. What a doll. Save that. Click on any picture. Sorry, I don't hear my dogs. Collars rattling. They're running around kitchen being obnoxious. And then we have Scrappy. PPY? Yep. Sometimes they'll spell them funny at the shelter for whatever reason. That's why I double check that. He is a German Shepherd mix. Say he, it's a male. Yep. That's another thing you get. Sometimes you get male dogs with female names, female dogs with male names. Here's Scrappy. Oh. One more. Spudsy. And Spudsy is a pit bull mix. Doesn't look like one to me. And just because he has pit bull there, is he has much less odds of making it out of that shelter. Which is unfortunate. He was a really good dog too. And I've noticed that with most of the pit bulls. They're usually really calm, collected, and laid back. Not all of them, but most of them. I think it's the people that gave that dog its name, not the dog. All in the training. And I'm going to save that one. Okay, I think we're done there. And what is... Why doesn't OBS tell you how long you've been live? Because I definitely want to hit that 4-hour mark. I'd like to anyway. And we may do a little something else. The end of it. Oh, we could sit and talk about some dogs, or maybe I can show you guys some of my some of that rescue collection I was talking about earlier. If that's something you might be interested in, feel free to let me know what you might like to do. Or I could show you some of my portrait work as far as photography goes. Yeah, it's not. There should be something on here to tell me that. Two hours and 45 minutes. So 3:48. Oh my goodness, I'm yawning already. I'm gonna do terrible on midnights. Oh my goodness. I don't know how people do it. I have worked midnights before, a long time ago when I was much younger, and I couldn't do it then. Just not in me to stay up all night like that. And when I was younger, sure, I could pull it off here and there, especially if there was ladies involved. But no, I'm terrible with it nowadays. I don't know how it's gonna go, but let me see. let's go back here. Yes, I want to go ahead and save that. And I'm going to go ahead and I killed Lightroom. So I'm going to see about pulling up that rescue collection. And we'll look at that real quick since we've been doing the dogs anyway. If I can locate it. I don't think I exported it off to my archives. I think I still have it here. Just gotta figure out where I put it. This might be it. Oh, this folder is empty. That one's been archived. Here, I can show you a few pictures of my puppies. At least some of them. I don't know if I have Jacksons in here like this. Back into the dogs category. There is Jackson. Is that the right Jackson? It is. So, let me get not like that either. Trying to get my window size so you at least have some decent view of it. We'll switch back to the display capture. So this is one of our Jackson. Again, he's a little over 2.5 now. He's close to 140 pounds. He's a total cuddle bug and a total turd at the same time. And it's just the Great Dane in him. And these are all photographs I took of him. Actually, this particular group of photographs, I have different studio shots of him. These, we didn't have him that long. And I was in my studio. This was in my home studio, not at on my commercial studio. And he just wandered and wanted to hang out. And I was testing some lighting and stuff. And I told him, come over here, lay down. And we shot some pictures, and I did some test lighting. And he just hammed it up. He loved the attention. He's such a cool dog. And he's a lot of work. If you're thinking about a Great Dane, one that's younger than 3 anyway, they're a lot of work because they don't understand their size, first of all. They don't have a concept of that. They will try to sit in your lap. They will try to fit into beds that are way too small for them. They will bump into you. I say bump into you. They're really good about not bumping things, which is why they're great apartment dogs, believe it or not. But they're not so good like when he comes up and he wants to lean on you to get petted or something. I mean, he'll put his whole weight on you. That'll knock you over. But total ham. Love him to death. Totally love him to death. And let me see if I got Gracie's in that format. If not, I know I have him in another. Doesn't look like I have him there. Definitely not there. Gracie. So here is, trying to get it worked out to be roughly the same size ish. This is our Gracie. She is 3. She's a Great Dane Blackmouth cur mix. She is an absolute princess. I do not know why this dog is not a breed. I really don't. She is so freaking awesome. She listens well. She's very cuddly, very calm and collected. She does have that cur, though. That cur that doesn't care for other dogs that she doesn't know around her property. Just the curs, the blackmouth curs, were farm dogs basically, and they kept coyotes and other dogs away from livestock. And she's definitely got that. She doesn't care for dogs she doesn't know on her property. And she's also prey driven. She's not as scent driven though as Jackson is. Jackson gets on a scent and you'd lose him on it. I have other ones. I have the studio. Or no, I have some outdoor. I have some outdoor of them as well. It's just kind of a mess in here. I don't usually go through my pictures this way, and I did recently export a bunch off. For archives. The desktop. That one's empty. I don't even know why that folder is still there. So we're getting rid of that. These are not my dogs, but they're adorable anyway. These are some puppies I shot for a client. And this is my style. This is how I photograph animals in a studio environment. It's usually on all black, fairly even lit, and sometimes I'll get a real dramatic 3 light or 2 light. These are all 3 light setup. This has a 36-inch beauty dish and two 1x4 grids on the sides. But they're so damn cute. So adorable. Puppies. I think there was 4 of them. 5 of them. Several different ones. And let's see who else we got here. Here's Cage and Gracie. Gracie out playing. These were shot with the 810 outside. I am in Texas. That's why the grass looks so terrible. That's Gracie and that's Cage. She's our lab mix. You can see that Dane in her. She got that really deep chest. She loves running. I'm going to keep her in good shape. I watch their diet pretty well. Chasing the ball. Yeah, Skylight. Here's a better one of Cage. She's such... Again, if I ever had an inkling or the space or the time to start a breed of dog, she would definitely be one of them. And I think the way you could get her, another one of her, would be a fawn Great Dane, female, with a male blackmouth cur that has good color. I think that would produce another one of her of that size. I don't think, I might be wrong, but I'm not sure a female cur could handle birthing a dog of that size. I would hate to find out the hard way, but I would almost think it would have to be a Dane female. But she's so awesome, such an incredible. And she's a rescue. We got her from a shelter. More of Cage. Best friends. Love my puppies. But I had better ones of Jackson like that too. For you cat lovers, here's a few from, these are shelters. They're from the shelter. Cats. Who doesn't like cat pictures on the internet, right? And these are all taken inside an enclosed area, the cat area, obviously. And a lot of them are pretty easy. Look. Pretty easy to photograph. Some are a little more scared. Some are just totally curious about what was going on. What was that? And tongue sticking out. Wow. Looks really chill. I still didn't find the rescue collection either. I wanted to... It's about time to wrap this up. I really wanted to show you guys the rescue collection. I'm just not sure. I'm pretty sure I did not I didn't archive it off yet. Not the cats. Just really quick thing. I also done horses for local shelters and rescues. Because like I said, there are rescues out there for everything. I also like the horses, so I'll go out and I take pictures for them and their adoption sites as well. And you know, you can find this in your area if it's something you're interested in. And I'd highly suggest it. Because they all need good homes. That was a rainy day. And this is Rufio. Sticking his tongue out. Funny. This horse was hard to photograph because every time, and I'll see if I can, this shot here and the shots like this, I would have to crouch down and aim up. And he was such a people horse. Every time I crouched down, he would come up over the top of me. Like put his chest right in my face. Every time. And finally had to kind of mess with him for people to kind of hold him back and then back away so I could get the picture. But he was a really sweet guy. Strictly a companion horse, which struck me a little weird at first. I'm like, it's a horse. How do you have a companion horse? Apparently it's a thing. Apparently it is a thing. Okay, come on, rescue collection. I know you're in here. I know you are in here. Miscellaneous, no. Gosh, I got so many pictures in here. You would not believe the amount of pictures. Why is that? Now it's bugging me. Because I don't know exactly where it's located. I'm pretty sure it was in my exports. AKLM. No. Well, I guess we'll just have to save that for next Sunday. I'll have to locate them. And I'll have to show them to you then. Because I cannot for the life of me locate them. Jackson. Getting irritated with one of the... This is one that is in the rescue collection, but this is a color version of it. This is Lee. He was a great dog. He got adopted by a fireman. But in black and white in the rescue collection. I'll have to pull them together. And they're all dramatically lit like this. If I had to say that, you know, if I was to put together an actual gallery of animals, it would definitely be something like the rescue collection. Because this is my signature here. This is for pets. This is what I do. And you'll see that in the rescue collection when I do get a chance to show that to you. But in the meantime, I I want to thank everybody for coming or stopping by, passing by. Don't forget to hit that follow button. Every Sunday, I plan on doing the photo edits for the dogs, and hopefully we'll have more time on further Sundays, and I'll be able to do something after that as well. And then Mondays and Tuesdays, we start at noon. Hopefully that'll happen tomorrow with this midnight I gotta go to, but I want to start at noon, and we'll be doing mostly gaming kind of stuff. If you'd like to see that, follow me there as well. But I do want to thank everyone for showing up, being here, following. It means a lot, especially as I try to kind of kick this off and get things going. But anyway, I hope you have a great evening, week, or whenever I see you next. And thanks for coming by. Have a good one.